The Senate will come back to order. The Senate will come back to order. For what purpose does the senator from the 11th rise?
Mr. President, I move that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 482.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 482 by Senator Burke of the 11th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 53 of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to the Office of Health Strategy and Coordination so as to provide for a state all-payer claims database and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 482, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 53 of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Office of Health Strategy and Coordination so as to provide for a state all-payer claims database to provide for definitions and for other purposes. That completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 11th to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to thank the President of this body, his staff, for their hard work on helping me put this together. For those of you who are not scientists or data-driven, these things may seem to be completely boring, but I feel very comfortable that this piece of legislation will be the most important one I pass in my experience in this body. This allows the state of Georgia to set up an all-payer claims database, which for the purposes of our citizens will allow unparalleled transparency in the cost of health care. And when we shine a light on these numbers, I'm very comfortable the quality of care and the price of care will come down. We had minor changes in the House, mainly on implementation dates, and a line to make sure it's goes into effect upon appropriations. I'll be glad to answer questions, Mr. President.
Senator, you have no questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. Senator from the 11th has moved that the Senate agree to House substitute to Senate Bill 482. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. All senators, please enter the chamber and vote your machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? We got one more. All senators voted? The hallway's clear. Is the minority leader good to go now? Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the motion, the yeas are 45, the nays are 0, and the Senate has agreed to the House substitute to Senate Bill 482. I want to take a second here to thank some very important members of the Senate that have helped us on a long journey. Senator Butler, Senator Burke, Senator Watson, and Kirkpatrick. I'm supposed to have called you by numbers, but I forgot. We put together a health care task force on access and costs last session, and we worked together in a bipartisan format to pull together 3 incredibly powerful pieces of legislation that I'm proud to know that this chamber overwhelmingly supports. House Bill 888, which was surprise billing, Senate Bill 303, which was Georgia's right to shop, and of course Senate Bill 482, which was the all-payers claims database. So thank you so much for your efforts. Also want to thank Ryan Loken, the governor's office, for his great teamwork on this incredible effort. Thank you very much. Last but not least, I want to thank Regina Quick and Mike Dudgeon, too, for their incredible work on this. They absolutely spearheaded so much of this and kept us on track. So thank them, too. Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th.
Mr. President, I move the Senate agree to the House substitute to SB 367.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 367 by Senator Martin of the 9th, Strickland of the 17th, Tillery of the 19th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 12 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to effectiveness of educational programs so as to reduce the number of students' assessments, provide for when assessments must be administered, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 367, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 12 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated, relating to effectiveness of educational programs so as to reduce the number of student assessments, provide for when assessments must be administered, and for other purposes. That completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the opportunity to do this. First, I want to thank the House Education Committee and Chairman Jaspers for working through this and coming up with a good bill, I think, that's going to serve the students and teachers very well in our state for years to come. SB 367 continues after the House amendments were made. It reduces the number of standardized tests in Georgia. They made no changes to that part of it. One change they did make is they preserved some of the language that is encouraging language, because they wanted to make sure we continue to encourage our school districts to test for early literacy and early math readiness. So they kept that in there. The second part is that the House restored the norm referenced items in our Georgia milestones. And we agreed to do that because they also put in reporting from the Department of Education. The Department of Education has to now send us reports and make those available to us, showing the progress that our students are making against other states. And I think that's a very good add. And thirdly, they removed the change. We had put something in there that said that the Board of Education would not be required to count end-of-course tests against their final grade. We didn't say they had to. We said they weren't required to. They felt that there still should be a requirement, but they also insisted that it doesn't have to be the current 20% that it is now, that could be reduced by the board, and I'm very comfortable with that. Other than that, those changes, the bill remains as it was when it passed, if I remember, unanimously out of this chamber, and I would ask for your favorable consideration and yield for any questions.
Senator, you have no questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Does any of the senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 9th has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 367. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? It's a good thing I'm standing right here. All senators voted. Mr. Secretary, please lock the machine. On the passage of the motion, the yeas are 45, the nays are 0, and the Senate has agreed to the House substitute to Senate Bill 367. Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to the House substitute to SB 445.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 445 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to control of soil erosion and sedimentation so as to authorize certain water and sewer authorities to be designated as local issuing authorities for land disturbing activity permits and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House has offered the following amendment or following substitute to Senate Bill 445. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to control of soil erosion and sedimentation so as to authorize certain water and sewer authorities to be designated as local issuing authorities for land disturbing activity permits and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, and good afternoon, colleagues. Bringing to you SB 445. This is the bill that we passed earlier that simply allows for a water authority that works with a county or municipality to become an LIA, licensing issuing authority. And so we passed that out. It's particularly helpful for Macon Bibb, where the consolidated government has transferred the management of stormwater to the Macon Water Authority through an intergovernmental agreement. The problem is for them to get all the land disturbance permits and the permitting that they need from EPD, they need to be a licensing issuing authority under the current law. So this simply adds, in addition to a county or a municipality that can be an LIA, it adds a water authority. So that's all it does, Mr. President. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
You have no questions.
Thank you. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 18th has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 445. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. We're not. I was making sure it wasn't on Will Rock. I mean, my hope is that we just don't really have any heartburn about it. I hope we get a bunch of restaurants. Is there a supplemental payment? How many bills?
Four.
Four? So we have this and four, and that's it? Yep. Oh, so you tell me this, and this is between me and going home? And a budget. That sounds like that's what it's for. Have all senators voted? All senators voted. Is the hallway clear? Hallway's clear. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine.
What are we up to now?
On the passage of the motion, the yeas are 46, the nays are 0, and the Senate has agreed to the House substitute to Senate Bill 445. We are now moving on to the rules calendar. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 511?
House Bill 511 by Representative Tanner of the 9th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend titles 32, 36, 45, 48, and 50 of the OCGA relating to highways, bridges, and ferries, local government, to repeal and reserve Chapter 32 of Title 50 of the OCGA relating to the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority, to amend Title 40 of OCGA relating to motor vehicles and traffic so as to correct cross-reference and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Transportation recommends this bill do pass by substitute. Senator Beach of the 21st District Chair. The Senate Committee on Transportation has offered the following substitute to House Bill 511, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 50 of the OCGA relating to state government so as to transfer the Atlanta Region Transit Link, quote, ATL, close quote, authority of to the Department of Transportation for administrative purposes, to provide for definitions, provide for membership and jurisdiction of the authority, provide for powers of the authority, to provide for a logo such and use of such on transportation operator property and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Chair recognizes the Majority Whip to present House Bill 511.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, we have a bill before you. It's the first one of the day dealing with transit and ATL. This bill started last year. This is the first time we've had it in this chamber, so it's new to most of you. There's about 6 sections of the bill. I'll run through them real quickly. The first section basically clarifies the definition of transit as it relates to the ATL here in Atlanta. Section 2 of the bill reassigns the ATL from the Greta authority over to GDOT, so it's just basically being administratively attached to the Department of Transportation. Section 2 also revises how the members of the ATL Board of Directors are selected, how the vacancies are filled, and it revises their tenures to ensure staggered terms. That's an issue we dealt with last year here. and this straightens all of that out. If you move into Section 3, this part of the bill deals with EPD and the reports that have to be certified to the ATL with the counties that are in the non-attainment areas of Atlanta and the Clean Air Act. It just changes the reporting requirements of that section. Section 4 of the bill corrects a provision by authorizing the ATL to receive payments from GDOT instead of the DCA, which is the Department of Community Affairs. Section 5 of the bill requires that all transit service providers within the jurisdiction of the ATL utilize the ATL logo, and it starts to brand the ATL prominence throughout the district. And Section 6, final section of the bill, deals with the CPI index of motor fuel. And Mr. President, I'm happy to take any questions or yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 21st for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield,
Absolutely.
wouldn't it be true that we've been working on this with the chairman of the House Transportation Committee probably since January
We have spent
to
a lot
make
of
these
time.
changes, and he's very favorable to the changes we've made?
Yes, the House is favorable, and I think it'll get a unanimous vote or close to it when it gets back over to the House.
Well, thank you for all your hard work
You're
on this, Senator.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 48th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the whip yield?
I will.
On line 115, you add the word resolution or regulation. Could you tell me why the word resolution is added?
Let me go look at that.
Yes, sir, line 115.
In case I guess the agency would have to pass a resolution by the board for that particular action that's taken by the board. Instead of just a regulation, they could do it by resolution as well.
All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thanks for the question.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, sir. Please vote for the bill.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 511? Chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none, and the report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? All senators voted. Got a thumbs up from the hallway. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 86?
House Bill 86 by Representatives Benton of the 31st, Stovall the 74th, and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 11 of Article 17 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to complaints policy for teachers and other school personnel so as to provide that performance ratings contained in personnel evaluations are subject to complaint for teachers who accepted a school year contract for the fourth or subsequent consecutive school year and for the purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Rules recommends this bill to pass by substitute. Senator Mullis of the 53rd District Chair. The Senate Committee on Rules offers the following substitute to House Bill 86, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 11 of Article 17 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to complaints policy for teachers and other school personnel so as to provide a separate appeals process for certain performance ratings contained in personnel evaluations for teachers who have accepted a school year contract for the fourth or subsequent consecutive school year and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
It might just be me, but every time the senator from the 53rd approaches the well, things get a little rowdy in here in the Senate chamber. I'm not certain if that's you or in anticipation of what's about to happen. Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd to present House Bill 86.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is not a sprint, it's a jog. By the way, that's old school. They used to run down here on the last couple of days. So I'm an old guy, so I'm going to continue the tradition. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a pro-educators bill. That's right. Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, we had given our educators a raise last year, and this year, because of the COVID virus, we've struggled with the budget, but only because of our leadership and everybody cooperating, we're going to do the best we can, and thank you for that, Senator from the 19th District. But here's a good way to help our educators. This enables a simple review process for educators. And this is something they wanted. This is if they are reviewed and it doesn't go their way or they believe it was unfair, there is a review process for the original review. So this teachers are only professions which cannot request a review of their performance evaluation. And in the area in which we live, teachers has one of the highest turnover rates. As more of our excellent educators realize they have limited or no rights or voice in the input of the classroom discipline, which, as you know, has changed over the years. When the senator from the 15th and I were in school, if we got in trouble at school, and I think he did a lot, that you got in trouble at home more so. I know if I got a whooping at school, I got a bigger whooping at home. Today it's totally different. In fact, if you get in trouble at school, a lot of parents want to sue the school or sue the teacher. I mean, come on, we're trying to educate our kids and doing a lot more in the classroom than they ever did because it's lacking at some homes. And that's not good, but we're doing the best we can. The Department of Education supports this House Bill 86. There is no fiscal statement, Senator from the 48th. And this is not a grievance bill. This is a bill in which educators are reviewed. If the review doesn't go well, there are processes they can challenge the review. Never has happened before. Educators will love this. And let me thank the Educators First organization. I heard from none of the others, but Educators First are on top of this, working for the educators. And I'm proud to sponsor this bill from the House member in the House. Does that make sense? All right, Tommy Benton in the House. Be glad to answer any questions.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 15th for a question.
Uh-oh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
Yes, sir, of course.
Senator, for my clarification, how does this affect any current policy, or does it affect any negotiated policies?
Well, currently there's no way for an evaluation of a teacher for them to challenge that evaluation or even see the review, and this will allow them to do that.
All right. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the education chair for a question.
Are you having trouble with your seat?
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It is true, isn't it true? Sorry, I don't want to put words in your mouth. That there are some districts that do already allow
True.
appeals process.
Yes.
Isn't it further true we continue to yield?
Yeah, of course.
Isn't it further true that, and that I'm very appreciative that you agreed to go ahead and push the effective date of this out to July 1st, 2021, so that schools could focus 100% on making sure they reopen after the COVID pandemic?
Yes, and thank you for that. And the main reason is there are no evaluations going on now because, as you know, we're in a different world than we've ever expected to be in because of the COVID virus. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, I would appreciate your passage of this, and your educators would appreciate it too. Thank you.
Not used to seeing you with glasses on. For what purpose does the senator from the 49th rise?
The glasses make him look intelligent, don't they?
The chair has no comment. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 86? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? The chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? All right, we got a thumbs up from the hallway. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption of House Bill 857.
House Bill 857 by Representative Powell of the 32nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to prevention and control of air pollution so as to prohibit the burning of certain chemically treated wood products for purposes of commercial energy generation and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities recommends this bill do pass. Senator Calzert of the 46th District, Chair.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 50th to present House Bill 857. For what purpose does the senator from the 20th rise?
Mr. President, I request unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 17th for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 17th is excused.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I bring to you this afternoon House Bill 857. This is a bill that I worked closely with Chairman Alan Powell on. This bill would prohibit the Director of the Environmental Protection Division of the Department of Natural Resources from issuing permits for the use of railroad ties treated with creosote or naphthenate for purposes of commercial electricity generation. The bill also creates an exception for electricity generation where the boiler provides steam or electricity to any co-located forest products processing plant. The need for this legislation came up after there were two new power plants constructed, one in Franklin County and one in Madison County. When the plants were constructed, it was illegal to use anything that had been treated with creosote as a source of fuel. Of course, those of you that are familiar with creosote naphthenate know that it contains carcinogenics. These plants were constructed in residential areas. The people had the understanding they were going to use clean wood chips and wood products and forest byproducts to generate the electricity. They have been generating power by burning these railroad ties treated with creosote. This has become a problem, and we feel for the safety of the constituents in those counties that we need this bill. So with that, if there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would the gentleman yield?
I will.
Did you check with the railroad industry about this?
They have weighed in on it.
You have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I'd urge your favorable consideration of this legislation.
Senator, I've never heard somebody pronounce carcinogenics quite the way you did. That was impressive. That's right. 3 or 4. Chair recognizes the senator from the 47th to speak to the measure.
Good afternoon. I think everybody in here knows how little I like to come to the well and talk about a subject. But this is one that I really feel passionate about, that y'all need to know what's going on. I don't claim to be the fastest guy in the world. I was the Franklin County manager for 10 years. This project actually started with a fellow that wanted to build a small 20 megawatt facility in Franklin County, and of all things was going to use poultry litter, basically wood chips, as his fuel source. You know, watched a lot of things happen. Our economy went to heck in a handbasket. What happened here was a company called Georgia Renewable Power bought his power purchase agreement, as well as some others. Said they collected, instead of a 20 megawatt facility, they decided that they'd work on expanding that, and it turned into 2 65 megawatt facilities. Now I'm going to tell you, as the former county manager and then the economic development director for Franklin County, you look at it from an economic standpoint. This is going to create jobs. It's going to build your tax base. The senator from the 50th talked about there's 2 plants. There's a plant in Franklin County. There's also a plant in a county that I represent, in Madison County. For those of you who have not been there, Madison County is the home of Colbert, Georgia. I'm going to tell you, for me, Colbert is about as close to Mayberry as you can ever see. I'm a 34-year member of the Colbert Lions Club. I think I've been in Lions Club longer than the senator from the 7th has been on the planet. So when I start looking, he's sitting in the wrong seat today. But you know, for me, I start looking at, this started off as a great opportunity. They wanted to build a power plant. Everything's good. They're going to use wood chips and clean C&D waste as their fuel stock. We're an agricultural community. If you look on this picture up here behind me, you can see, and I couldn't have been prouder that my wife Robin and I have a daughter named Catherine. She's in her 5th year over at UGA. She's just got her pilot's license recently, and I got to fly with her for the first time 2 weeks ago. I said, Catherine, let's fly back towards the farm. So on the way, we passed the power plant, and I shot a couple pictures. This is what a lot of people call God's country. But I know everybody has a place in their community that they call God's country too. You know, when you live in a place and you watch it grow and you want to see the good things happen, I looked at this power plant as a real opportunity to bring investment into the county. Now I'm going to tell you, this power plant last year, their payment in taxes to the community was over 10% of the taxes in the county. They're a huge taxpayer in the county. But you know, one of the things that they did was they were focused on, as they were building the plant and they're doing this stuff, focused on trying to get completion. They made a lot of mistakes. They didn't pay attention to the community. Along the way, during the time that I started working this project in about 2014 and 15 with the company that currently runs it, the laws got changed. In 2016, under the Obama administration, there was a change in federal law that changes cross ties to a renewable energy resource. This is a renewable power plant. If I look at it, and I guarantee you, if you go to any audience you want to and ask how many people in that audience like renewable power, you're going to see everybody's hand go up. Concept's a great idea, and I love it. It's something that helps our forest industry, and it's a good idea. But for me, when they changed the federal regulations, the plant looked at it as an opportunity. They said, oh, we're going to use that as something. It changed from the time they came and talked to us until they started an operation. Way more technical than you want to, and that's what engineers do, unfortunately. There's a thing called an electrostatic precipitator. It basically captures everything that goes on inside the emissions that come out of that plant. Now, when you look at this plant, if you look closely, right in the middle of the plant, you can see a smokestack in the middle of it. If y'all can see any smoke coming out of it, I want to see it because I don't think you can. Said the picture's gone away. But what happens is because of a safety mechanism, you've got to get moving with you can't turn on the electrostatic precipitator until you've got the plant up and running. So at startup and shutdown, I'm going to tell you that smokestack, it looks like a freight train. It is the worst stuff in the world that's coming out of there. And you know, put this in an analogy. Today we had varsity hot dogs for lunch. One of my favorite restaurants in Colbert is old Billy Metter's gas station. They serve the best hot dogs in town. Said one afternoon I was late getting into lunch. I was there about closing time. And you know, the ladies that worked there were chopping up onions for the next day. Anybody in here chop onions before? Said when you do, there's one little problem with that. Your eyes begin to water, your sinuses begin to open up, your throat begins to burn. Well, that's what it's like when this plant is running the creosote at startup and shutdown. People in the community can't stand it. And I need your help to get this bill passed, and I want to send a message, and I'd like it to pass unanimously from this body. It passed unanimously over in the House. We need to pass it unanimously here. So I'll ask for your favorable consideration on this vote. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, if there are no questions, I'll yield.
You have questions. Chair recognizes the majority whip for a question.
Will the senator yield?
For my friend from the 51st.
The sponsor of the bill, the senator from the 50th, had us at hello. And you've spent a good bit of time further explaining the bill, but so you do support this bill?
Yes, sir, 100%.
All right.
Thank you.
You continue to yield? Senator has yielded the well. He took the hint. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 857? For what purpose does the senator from the 31st rise? He waives. It was a question. Gotcha. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Hallways thumbs up. Mr. Secretary, please lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 48, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 901?
House Bill 901 by Representative Chiokas of the 138th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 1 of Chapter 23 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to general provisions regarding the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority so as to provide for the power to make loan commitments and loans to local governments and non-government agencies for projects that permanently protect land and water and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance recommends this bill do pass. Senator Huffstetler, the 52nd District Chair. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance offers the following substitute to House Bill 901, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to state government so as to authorize the state treasurer to invest in mutual funds, provide for the power to make loan commitments and loans to local governments and non-government entities for projects that permanently protect land and water and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd. Make sure you bring your glasses to speak to House Bill 901.
I didn't do that, but thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. I hope you're all doing well today. House Bill 901 is Georgia Environmental Financial Authority. We call them GEFA. GEFA has been instrumental in helping small governments around our state with certain projects, especially infrastructure, water and sewer, some economic development. But now they get to do it on environmental causes, on certain land and things of that nature to help repair properties, government properties regarding environmental problems. Also, Senator from the 56 added in thank you, Mr. President, added that the state treasury to invest state funds in marketing, money market matters to actually to just codify an executive order by the governor. This bill is that simple. There's no financial impact, Senator 48th, and I would love to answer any questions you may have.
Senator, you have no questions.
Thank you for your support. I appreciate it, and I yield the will.
Any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 901? Chair sees none. The question's on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. What purpose does the senator from the 51st rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, isn't it true that we have about 23 more bills on this rules calendar, plus a lot of agrees and disagrees? And the faster people get in and out of the well, and the faster they get down here to vote, the more likely we'll pass some of these important bills?
All of that's true. We want to continue to maintain social distancing and keep our chamber safe.
Correct. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have all senators voted? Have all Senators voted. Thumbs up from the hallway. One more. Two more. You good? All right, Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 45, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 1090?
House Bill 1090 by Representative Silcox of the 52nd and others. Bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions regarding labor and industrial relations so as to revise provisions regarding employers' obligation to provide break time for an employee to express breast milk, to revise a definition, provide for requirements for such employees and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends this bill to pass by substitute. Senator Jones of the the Senate Committee on Rules recommends this bill to pass by substitute. Senator Mullis of the 53rd District Chair. The Senate Committee on Rules offers the following substitute to House Bill 1090, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 34 and 35 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to labor and industrial relations and public officers and employees, respectively, so as to change certain provisions and to provide certain benefits and procedures affecting employment and separation from employment, to provide for employers, including state entities and local governments, to satisfy certain requirements for break time to allow employees to express breast milk and for other purposes. Mr. President, that completes the order.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 48th to speak to House Bill 1090. And I hope you bring a fiscal note.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's funny you mention a fiscal note because several senators wanted me to ask you about said fiscal note. However, this is fiscally responsible, I'm happy to say. My fellow senators, I bring you House Bill 1090. You may recall my new nickname is One Tough Mother. And this bill is about being a tough mother and allowing women to be able to stay in the workforce if they so choose and be able to express breast milk. Now, you may be saying, "Oh, deja vu, didn't we do this?" Yes, we did. The last day before we left for the pandemic, it was the very last bill, and we passed it 49-1. And I'm sure y'all know who our one person was. I still love you, sir. And you may remember this bill because we have gotten so many calls and emails, and several of you were on the Burt Show to talk about this bill, to include our illustrious chairman, the senator of the 25th, who has the same first name. In fact, he's now famous in Georgia. And I want to recognize the senators who are involved in this bill, because it does show bipartisanship that is not seen on the House bill that came to us. It is the senator of the 8th, senator of the 35th, senator of the 38th, senator of the 9th, and of course the illustrious chairman, the senator of the 25th, who I want to recognize, who worked really, really hard on this bill, not only when we were drafting it, but also in his committee and to making sure it was a very good balance. Now, the House did put forward and pass a version of this bill, which is different from our version in a few ways, and of course I'm biased, I think our version's better. But it's good to have a law that is able to be passed, especially at this late hour, and it's critical for the working families of Georgia. I see the sponsor on the House side has joined us, so thank you for coming, ma'am. Now, I want to tell you what's been changed, because as you know, something had to be changed. So, a couple things have been added by the Department of Labor, beginning at Part 2 on line 65. And rather than walking through every piece of change, I'll just let you know. We already passed that bill, Senate Bill 408, and there was an "and" inadvertently left out on line 112, and it has been added here. at the request of Legislative Council, and of course we want to have the best law possible. So this is exactly the same thing you already passed with respect to the Department of Labor. It's critical for the Department of Labor. We've heard about unemployment issues. It's critical that we have this ability to be responsive to the people of Georgia and to make sure that they can be taken care of even when we're not in session. Again, I encourage you all to vote for this bill to ensure that the working mothers can work from home or in the office, be able to pump, to be able to serve our families no matter what their occupation, whether they're hourly, salaried, makes no difference. And as you will remember, this is critically important for the teachers of Georgia. This is a good measure for our families and for all those folks who've lost a job during this pandemic, and for us as a chamber to show all Georgians we've got their backs. I also want to thank the Lieutenant Governor and his staff who also worked very hard on this bill, and the Lieutenant Governor in the ultimate show of bipartisanship for offering me this opportunity to put forth this bill. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope it's a sign of more to come. Thank you so much. I encourage you all to vote to pass this bill. I yield the will. Oh, I'm sorry, if there are any questions.
You have some questions.
I
Chair
think-
recognizes the senator from the 9th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will Senator yield?
Yes, sir.
We've all been wondering, are you a former federal prosecutor?
The gentleman knows of what he speaks.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 7th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will my almost seatmate from the 48th yield?
Yes, sir, for my wonderful chairman, I will.
I have been diligently searching this morning through the papers on my desk and just have been doing my due diligence, and I have yet to find a fiscal note for House Bill 1090.
That's right.
And I have an extreme concern, and I'm sure my colleagues in this body have an extreme concern. Can you tell us, can you set us at ease, can you let us know, does this bill have any fiscal impact on the state of Georgia?
Well, I'm happy to say, as the president noted when I walked up, there is no fiscal impact. This is folks operating their business environments as per what they should. And also the good chairman from the 25th scrubbed this bill very heavily when we worked on it the first time. So I have faith that we are fiscally responsible here. And not only that, the unemployment provisions help us utilize federal money that's available, and we certainly want to use that money to help our folks get their unemployment benefits and to continue to receive those. But I appreciate your question and your fiscal, that's right.
After the senator of the 7th's question and your answer, about 40 lights turned off. Chair, for what purpose does the senator from the 9th rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
When's the appropriate time to request a ruling from the chair on the need for a fiscal note on this bill?
Come see counsel. They'll let you know. Chair recognizes the senator from the 32nd for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the senator yield?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Madam Chairman.
Isn't it true that a lot of hard work from both parties went into being sure that this was the best possible law that was in compliance with federal law?
That is true.
And would you further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Wouldn't you agree that this is one of the most important things that we're going to do this session for the moms and babies of Georgia?
Yes, ma'am. As one tough mother, I am totally 100% in support of this bill, as are all the listeners at the Burt Show who have been reaching out to us, and women across the state who have reached out to us. We have received hundreds of emails and phone calls, and it is a wonderful day for the working families of Georgia to pass this bill.
Do you continue to yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 36th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the senator yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations. And I would just a quick question. Isn't it true that there really is a fiscal impact of this bill, and that fiscal impact is healthier infants and children? Let us never forget, we have come full circle to understand that mother's milk is exactly what the infant needs, and we're on an all-out drive to educate new mothers, mothers-to-be, that breastfeeding ensures your child a great start in life. And that's the fiscal impact on this state, and it's a very positive one. Is that not true?
Yes, ma'am, that is a great point, and I appreciate the senator's hard work these many years for women and children of this state. You know of what you speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 25th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, the Senator yield.
Yes, sir, for my illustrious chairman, I will yield.
Isn't it true that you and I had a good time working on this legislation as a bipartisan effort together?
Yes, sir.
And isn't it further true that you and I probably got more positive publicity from radio and TV outlets on this piece of legislation? Is that true?
Yes, sir, and I'm ready for you to run for governor, being the champion for women.
Well,
the senator has yielded the well.
If I may further add, the senator yield. It isn't
Yes,
also true that when you know you have the votes in this chamber, it's also probably a good time to yield the well, too.
I'm ready to yield, but I don't want to preclude the illustrious senators here who have questions, because this will be my last time at the well. And I know. Yeah.
Thank you, Senator.
So if there are no further questions, I will yield the well, but I know I have inflicted pain on people, so I'm giving you due opportunity here. But once I sit down, I'm sitting down.
You've got no more questions.
Thank you very much. Again, I appreciate, serving with you. It's been the opportunity of a lifetime, and I encourage you to vote unanimously, if possible, for this bill, and also to thank our colleague in the back who is here with us, who has also worked on this bill on the House side. Thank you. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 1090? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Got a thumbs up from the hallway on the passage of Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 45, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Great work, Senator. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption of House Bill 984.
House Bill 984 by Representative Burchett of the 176th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 10 of Title 17 in the Official Code of Georgia Annotated, relating to the procedure for sentencing and imposition of punishment so as to change provisions relating to sentencing, to provide credit for time served, change provisions relating to the commencement of a sentence when a case has been appealed, provide for related matters and further purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends this bill do pass. Senator Stone of the 23rd District Chair. That completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 23rd to speak to House Bill 984.
Thank you, Mr. President. colleagues, all this bill does is clarifying the law regarding sentences and when they're computed. First, it allows for a 1-year time frame to file for a sentence modification, 1 year from conviction. That overturns a case that said the motion had to be decided within 1 year. The second thing it does is clarify when a sentence begins after an appeal is returned. And it gives the prosecutors 90 days to notify the defendant of when sentence commences to run. This is for defendants who are out on bond during their appeals. And the third thing it does is clarify when a defendant is entitled to credit for time served, either pre-trial or while he's waiting the outcome of an appeal. In the past, it's been generally the practice of judges to note on the sentencing forms that there's credit for time served, but sometimes in the rush of things that gets omitted. This just says it's automatic unless there is reason not to allow it. And there are 3 grounds given judges to not give time served credit. This has been thoroughly vetted is brought by the criminal defense lawyers, and it's been thoroughly vetted by PAC, Department of Corrections, Department of Community Services, Pardons and Paroles, and by the judges. If there are no questions, I'll yield the well and urge your favorable consideration to House Bill 984.
You have no questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 984? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? We got one more in the hallway. All senators voted. Thumbs up from the hallway. Mr. Secretary, will you please close the machine? On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 45, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption to House Bill 1037?
House Bill 1037 by Representative Dollar, the 45th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-7-40.26 of the OCGA relating to the Georgia Entertainment Industry Investment Act so as to move certain sound recordings from qualified production activities to production expenditures, to provide for definitions and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Rules recommends this bill be passed by substitute. Senator Moss of the 53rd District Chair. Senate Committee on Rules offers the following substitute to House Bill 1037, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 48-7-40.26 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Entertainment Industry Investment Act so as to move certain sound recordings from qualified production activities to production expenditures, to reinforce the disallowance of the additional 10% credit allowed for including a qualifying Georgia promotion for certain productions, and hold the issuance of such credit until public distribution of the project and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd to speak to House Bill 1037.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know there's been a lot of discussion about tax credits in this session, and I'm happy to report that it's already created jobs. There's been a lot of lobbyists hired by companies to represent them, and we're creating jobs every day down here. This particular bill came over from the House. It actually had some expansion to it, and it had an auditing process, but we didn't have any fiscal note on that. So what this bill simply does is leave in the auditing process, but it does change it to where the Department of Revenue is the one that assigns the auditor to this, not the company. I've heard from many of the companies, and they're like telling me they're very good with being audited. They feel like, you know, that it's going to come fine. If there's any bad actors, I think this will show it as well. But I think that we will now, on all these, as we continue to study these and the others, we'll have a full audit done on each of these, and the company will pay for it. The reason for the change in rules of substitution was that the original bill had it being deducted from the credit, the cost of it, and the Department of Revenue had some constitutional problems with that, and they said you can't deduct it from the credit, you can just simply require them to reimburse you for it, and so that was a change in it. This is full auditing of all the film tax credits, no more, no less. With that, Mr. President, I'll yield the well if there aren't any questions.
You have no questions. Oh, Senator, last. Chair recognizes the senator from the 12th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. From the, what number? What's your number?
52nd.
Senator from the 52nd. Is it not true that tax credits were created for the film industry in order to help those of us in rural Georgia?
I think they were created with not just rural, but other areas too.
Is it also not true that when those tax credits were voted upon, I was one of the positive voters?
I'm sure the senator knows of which she speaks.
And I do hope, and is it also not true that we're still waiting for a production to occur in District 12?
I'm sure the senator also knows of what she speaks in regards to that.
Thank you very much.
You have no more questions. Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I do understand that the film industry is looking for your perfect face from the 12th district for their next production. They're looking for an outstanding, beautiful teacher performance. Well, I want to talk about this issue because of this. And I want to thank the senator from Georgia's Rome for all the work he does on all these finance bills, because I know that's difficult. It'd be good and best that I'm not on that committee. But I would like to say there are a lot of falsehoods in this industry. First off, it provides over $8.5 billion to the state of Georgia. It provides over 90,000 direct jobs and then a ripple effect. And these are all Georgia jobs. I know the extremists in my area want to talk about, all those liberals come from California and they're going to impact our communities and change all of our people, like it's the movie of the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But that's not true. The talent, so to speak, comes to Georgia, does their scenes. They are taxed. Their income tax is out of their check, and then they go back to California, wherever they come from. So the industry is alive and well and making a lot of good movies in Georgia. They're not X-rated movies. They're just normal family movies. and they provide a lot of jobs and a lot of revenue. Now, the state of Georgia gives them about $400 million. But again, we receive over $8.5 billion back in revenue and lots of jobs. So this is a great bill. Thanks to the representative over in Representative Dollar in the House for working on this issue. This is the audit part of it, as the senator from Georgia's Rome said. And it's just to make sure that they're spending all the revenues properly, and those who are getting it properly. And I think this is a great bill. Also would like to say, get ready for your close-up soon, because they're coming to your community in the near future. Mr. President, I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 1037? Chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Nobody pull a hamstring. It's late in the game. Take your time. All senators voted. Mr. Secretary, please lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 45, the nays are 1. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 846?
House Bill 846 by Representative Corbett of the 174th, Herald of the 106th, and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to revenue and taxation so as to provide that interest paid on refunds of overpayments of taxes and past due taxes shall be equal to the bank prime loan rate, to allow political subdivisions to make an election-related repayment of certain final refund amounts being made over a period of time and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Rules recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Senator Mullis of the 53rd District Chair. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Rules offers the following substitute to House Bill 846, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to revenue and taxation so as to define the term, quote, Internal Revenue Code, quote, close quote, and, quote, Internal Revenue Code of 1986, close quote, and thereby incorporate certain provisions of federal law into Georgia law and for other purposes. That completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd to speak to House Bill 846.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is one that has several sections in it, and I want to go over that and make sure people understand what we have here. We have the Internal Revenue Code update, and there was a spreadsheet put on your desk that will have this 846. This is the changes to the code. Now, the federal government is going back retroactive to 2018 and changing different credits and things. if we fully implemented what they did, you can look at the number on, I believe it's that last page at the bottom of that says minus 1734. That number is 1.7 billion that it would cost us if we did everything that they did. We balance our budget, they print money, and unfortunately more and more of our federal taxes are paying interest on that, but I won't get into that any more than that point. But we are in this bill proposing to go back only to 2019 retroactive, and the code updates, the cost spread over 20 to 24 to get with their code is going to be about 145 million. Now usually it's a little bit lower than that. We do this every year. It's a little bit higher, and usually we go back and accept all their changes, but we obviously can't do what they did. So that's section 1, is the code update. Section 2 has to do with direct pay. There's companies that get direct pay. About 5 years ago, the local Department of Revenue had some regulation changes. These are large companies that have a little bit more flexibility in what they do, and at the same time, sometimes they can come back and hit communities with pretty big refunds, and so a lot of that flexibility was lost. Originally, the direct pay bill, I thought was a little bit too generous in letting them go back, and so it's been worked on for several years now, and the Department of Revenue, to my understanding, GMA and ACCG have all come to an agreement on this. One of the big changes was that if you go back and ask for a refund, the interest only starts from the day that you ask for the refund, not, going back 3 or 4 years before you even asked for it. And there was some feeling of people that was gaming the system, and the interest rates changes. There was a second section on this that came over from the House that had a change in interest rates, and that was going to cost the state $24 million. So that has been taken out. That particular one has no fiscal impact on the state of Georgia, section 2. And then there's 2 more sections here. The first one deals with some job tax credits in quality jobs, less developed census tract jobs. And this is not a new tax credit. This is simply saying that we won't punish companies that were getting these credits for when they had some massive layoffs during the pandemic, that won't be held against them. And the impact of this will be done in 2021. So it's no fiscal impact. It's simply saying on the credits that you're currently eligible for, you will not be penalized for what happened during this time, because they have requirements they have to make of job growth and things like that, and it was felt that it was unfair to that from the administration, and this was put in the bill. The fourth one is a tax credit, and I don't think we've had any this year. This particular one has to do with personal protective equipment. It's companies that have gotten out of the business into this business of doing it, and the potential fiscal impact, if every company eligible, every job applied for this, it could be $13.6 million at the end. Now, I don't believe that number is going to be that high. And the other thing is the CARES Act does say that any state cost that comes about from the pandemic, from COVID-19, can be eligible for reimbursement. We've gotten money that we would like more flexibility from them on to use for shortfalls and stuff, and it's not allowed to be used for shortfalls, but it is allowed to be used for COVID-19 costs. And so this particular one, I don't write the Treasury rules for the federal government, but it appears to me that it would be a cost that could be allowed under that. Were it to be completely disallowed, then, and every employee from every company that's eligible to this, your cost could be up to $13.6 billion. That was requested by the administration to put in this bill up in rules, and that's the fourth item. I don't want to be too long with all the bills today, but I did want to go through and hopefully give a good explanation of this. And if there's no questions, I'll yield the well.
You have some questions. The chair recognizes the minority leader for a question.
Senator Yield.
Certainly to the great minority leader that we're going to miss here.
Thank you. Senator, the addition on the PPE tax credit, was that done in your committee?
It did not go through the Finance Committee, and my preference is that it does go through the Finance Committee. It was a late addition. Looking at it on its merits, I think it's reasonable, and I do think that some CARES funds can be used for this, but I do wish it had come through the committee.
Thank you, Senator. So you think the $13 million cost of state is truly going to generate enough revenue or product or production or jobs to be worth it? Because is it not true that a lot of these PPE manufacturers right now, although they've converted, are having their product fly off the shelves?
Well, I think that that would be the maximum cost if every industry and every employee, so I don't think the cost is going to be there, number one. Number two, like I said, I think this is eligible under the CARES funding. And number three, it's spread over several years.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 17th for a question.
Senator Yield.
I'll yield.
Isn't it true that you worked with the governor to add the PPE tax credit into this bill?
This was a late addition, and I did work with him and had discussions with him on getting this added in. I'm not a member of rules where it was actually subbed in, but was part of the process.
Isn't it true that not only does this help some businesses in our state, but helps the people of our state as part of our response to COVID-19 to make sure we have access around this state to the personal protective equipment that we need?
I think that the senator knows of what he speaks.
One more question. Isn't this also tied in, as you said, to federal funds we can draw down as well?
That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the chairman yield?
I'll certainly yield.
It looks like to me, if I'm reading this correctly, line 226 and 227, that this sunsets January 1st, 2025, the PPE tax
Correct.
credit. And that's kind of our practice now, is to sunset tax credits.
We want them to be reviewed on a regular basis and not just be there forever.
You have no more questions.
Thank you. I ask for your favorable consideration.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 846? Chair sees none. The question's on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? We got one more in the hallway. I bet you I know who that is. The senator from the 25th. Oh, we're good. All right, all senators voted. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 46, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption of House Bill 893.
House Bill 893 by Representative Gamble of the 15th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 33-1-17 in the official code of Georgia annotated relating to the Special Insurance Fraud Fund so as to reduce the frequency of assessments and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance Labor recommends this bill do pass. Senator Jones of the 25th District, Chair. That completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th to speak to House Bill 893. Easy now, easy now. Easy now.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, House Bill 893 is a Department of Insurance bill that updates the required assessment on the Georgia insurance industry for the Special Fraud Fund. They want to collect this fund once a year instead of 4 times a year. They're actually already doing that. They just want it codified. This is some companies owe as little as $100, and instead of them having to bill $25 quarterly, they'd like to just bill it annually. I ask for your favorable support for this bill. Thank you.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 893? Chair sees none. Is there objection or agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? You got one more in the hallway. Anything for you, Doc? All senators voted. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 49, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. For what purpose does the senator from the 54th rise?
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that House Bill 765 be taken from the table.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 765?
House Bill 765 by Representative Scoggins of the 14th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to courts so as to provide for an increase in the minimum compensation for chief magistrates and for other purposes.
Senator from the 54th has asked for unanimous consent that House Bill 765 be taken from the table. Is there objection? There is objection. This is not a debatable objection. All those in favor of removing House Bill 765 from the table will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? We got one in the hallway. All senators voted. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 38, the nays are 11, and House Bill 765 has been taken from the table. It will be placed at the end of today's rules calendar. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 1070?
House Bill 1070 by Representative Gaines and the 117th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 3 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to condominiums so as to provide new insurance policy disclosure requirements for condominium associations and unit owners in the event of a potential or actual claim filed against such policies and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends this bill do pass. Senator Jones of the 25th District Chair. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance offers the following substitute to House Bill 1070 by a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 3 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to condominiums so as to provide new insurance policy disclosure requirements for condominium associations and unit owners and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th to speak to House Bill 1070.
Thank you, Mr. President. I bring before the Senate today House Bill 1070. There's some ambiguity in the law when you're dealing with condominium associations, and it comes around water damage claims. So oftentimes there's confusion as to who should pay, whether it should be the condominium association's insurance policy or the unit owner's insurance policy. As you all know, if you've had a water damage claim, I have, it's very important to get that dried out as quickly as possible and to get that remediated so you can move forward. So HB 1070 is intended to assist both the unit owner and the condo association by providing a mechanism for each party to request in writing a copy of the certificate of insurance or contact information of the assigned adjuster from the other party. We're hoping that in doing this will facilitate better communication, quicker claims resolution, and a better ending for both the condo associations and the unit owners. I will take any questions if there are any, otherwise I yield the will.
You have no questions. Senator has yielded the well. Any senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 1070? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? Chair hears none. The committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? A couple more? All senators voted. The hallway looks clear. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 819?
Okay. House Bill 819 by Representative Hitchens of the 161st and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 5 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to issuance, expiration, and renewal of licenses so as to authorize the issuance of veterans licenses to any person who is a United States citizen and resident of the state who served in the military for an ally of the United States during a time of war or other conflict and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Veterans, Military, and Homeland Security recommends this bill to pass. Senator Harbison, the 15th District Chair. Mr. President, Senator Harbin of the 16th and others offers the following amendment number 1 to House Bill 819 to amend Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to motor vehicles and traffic so as to repeal a provision relating to storage of an unlicensed vehicle and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 15th to present House Bill 819.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, I bring you House Bill 819. This is an effort by the representative from the House of Representatives in the General Assembly to represent wartime allies that have fought with our country, specifically Korean veterans. From a practical point of view, I served in Vietnam with a lot of the ROK troops, and they were so fierce in their efforts to carry out their mission to fight the enemy that they were feared by the enemy, and they did everything they could to avoid contact with them. So some of them now live in the state of Georgia, very few of them veterans, and this is an effort to recognize them, and I certainly would encourage your support of this bill. It's a simple, straightforward bill. There is an amendment that use your conscience on. I'm not opposed to it as long as it's germane and it meets all the other criteria. Otherwise, I encourage support of House Bill 819.
Chair recognizes your seatmate, the senator from the 48th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Does the chair, Vice Chair yield?
I do.
Isn't it true, Senator, that we serve on the Veteran Affairs Committee together?
That is true.
And isn't it true that House Bill 819 passed our committee unanimously?
It did.
Isn't it further true that my district, District 48, has a large number of those allies that you spoke of just now?
Yes, that is true.
Thank you, sir.
Including Mr. Soon and Mr. Brian Kim, very patriotic people, and this is an opportunity for us to recognize and say thank you for their support.
And isn't it further true that to those veterans, this bill is very meaningful because most of them are very elderly at this time?
That's right, and they've been pushing hard for this for years, for a little recognition. They were really deserving of this honor.
Thank you, sir, for your work on the bill.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 14th for a question.
Senator Yield.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Senator, isn't it true that in committee we asked about a fiscal note just to make sure that we covered that for our illustrious senator over here, and it came back that there would only impact maybe 30 individuals?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr.
Senator.
Chairman, for the friendly
Chair
question.
recognizes the senator from the 9th for a question. Hold on one second. If I could have this chamber cease all audible conversations while a bill is being presented. I know it's day 39, but there's important work to be done. If we could keep to a point where we can hear the senator in the well answer the questions and the senators on the floor ask the questions. Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, will you yield?
Yes.
First of all, thank you for bringing this, and thank you for taking care of this. I'm very proud of your work on this issue. Isn't it true that many of the men who fought side by side oftentimes in the Vietnam War and in wars thereafter with Americans, that they're some of the most proud Americans now that they've immigrated here and they're very proud of their service to their country, and they are very much looking forward to being able to be to receiving the honor for their valiant service to their country, but also as an ally of our country.
Absolutely, and something like 4,000 of them died. Something like 16,000 were casualties. So this is a worthwhile gesture toward that effort.
Again, thank
for
you
the
very
question.
much.
Thank you.
Senator, you have no more questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. I encourage your approval. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 16th to speak to the amendment number 1. Amendment number 1.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate your recognition, and thank you from the senator from the 15th for letting me put this. This is an unusual amendment. It has Harbin and Henson together, and I think that's the first time we've been on a bill together, so that's something. And we also have the minority and the majority on it as well. What this does is it deals with a bill that was passed in 2018 that stops the confiscation of a car if the tag is out of order. And under the current law, your car was taken up and taken away from you, and you're left on the side of the road. And this simply changes that and wipes that section out of the code. And it really is allowing for due process, which is not there in the current status as it is. And it's a very simple, and it passed this chamber unanimously and passed the House with 2 dissenting votes in 2018.
Do you yield for questions?
If there are no questions, I will yield.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 28th for a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, do you yield?
I yield, sir.
Is this a common problem? I mean, do you know anybody this has happened to?
I can give you emails, yes, sir. I can give you multiple emails.
Do you have any video?
I probably could come up with that if I worked at it, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Chair, do you continue to yield? Chair recognizes the senator from the 9th, the friendly senator from Gwinnett County.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will you yield?
I will yield.
I do have an actual serious question. So it passed both chambers. What was the final?
In 2018, it passed this
Yes, sir.
chamber unanimously and passed the House with 2 dissenting votes.
So we're voting on it now. Was there a problem after that?
No, it just got vetoed at that time.
Got vetoed. Okay, so it got vetoed. Okay.
That's
So
all
we're
right.
assuming that it will not get vetoed this time?
That's what we're assuming, yes.
Are you confident of this?
I feel pretty good about
Excuse
it,
me,
sir.
we continue to yield all that.
I feel good about it. It's
Thank
good
you.
for the people of Georgia.
Well, thank you. I'm very sensitive to the attached bill, so I do have concern to make sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have no more questions. Does any other senator wish to speak to the bill or amendment number 1? For what purpose does the senator from the 9th rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
I'd like to approach to discuss the germaneness of the amendment.
You can approach the chair. Senate will come back to order. The chair has ruled the amendment germane. We'll now take up amendment number 1 by the senator from the 16th. Is there objection to the adoption of the amendment? The chair hears none, and amendment number 1 is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none. The main question is ordered. The Questions on the passage of the bill as amended? All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. Have all senators voted? All senators voted. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed as amended. Why is everyone taking pictures of me? Oh, the board. Hey, there's not allowed to have fun. Relax. Day 39, no fun. We're going to stand at ease for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Maybe 6. Keep complaining. 7, 8.